¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. Welcome, everybody. It is Friday Junior, folks. Finally, the weekend is basically here. Derry Bennett, welcome. Michael Hassler, welcome, welcome, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. We will talk about that, Derry Bennett. We will be talking about that. Folks, a couple of announcements. The new merch store is up. Check it out, folks. Check it out if you want to support the channel. That is a way of supporting the channel. I am currently wearing the Stitched logo. It's Stitched, so if you like Stitched, like a Stitched patch, you can definitely check that out. This is 100% cotton, folks. It feels great. It feels great. Kamikazion, welcome. Kamala at the eulogy of Sheila Jackson Lee. Yes, I saw that. I heard about that. Folks, if you want to support the channel or if you want to keep up with the channel, join the Discord, folks, okay? Join the Discord. That is the best way. That is the best way to keep up with the channel. Any updates or anything that happens on the channel, that is all going to be posted there on the Discord. Yeah. Cotton is a whole different thing, man. I rarely have full cotton t-shirts. And let me tell you, it's different. It's different. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that it was 100% cotton until I actually got the t-shirt, and I'm very, 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 very happy with that. Kamikazion, I hope you're doing all right. Welcome, everybody. Today, we've got a lot to go through, so we're going to try to do this as much as possible. But yeah, definitely consider checking out the merch store. It's pretty freaking good, and I'm very, very happy with it. Let's get started, folks. We're on the clock. So as Derry Bennett alluded to in chat, there's apparently been some controversy at the in the women's boxing at the Summer Olympics. Something that normally I wouldn't pay attention to, but because the right wing has decided to use this opportunity to launch anti-trans attacks, we got to talk about it. So, number one, again, as Derry Bennett pointed out in chat, the woman in question is not a trans woman. The woman in question is a cis woman from Algeria. Okay? The only reason that this is even being made into a bigger deal than it is because number one, the Italian boxer, I can't remember her name at this time, is a sore loser and made a huge stink about it. And number two, the right wing has decided to use this as an opportunity to launch anti-trans attacks, and incidentally, just end up being misogynistic because this isn't. We're not even talking about trans people, but here we are.
Well, there is a lot of misinformation being spread today.
Yes, thank you, Angela Carini. That's the sore The sore loser. That's right. The sore loser. And by the way, Khalif, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. They're making it out to seem as if like this trans person, this trans woman who is not a trans woman, is out there like beating women senseless, when in reality 11%, like her record speaks for itself. You could look this up, by the way. But yeah, this whole thing is not you can really tell with incidents like this, because like in sports, this is not the first, nor will it be the last. But anyways, you can really tell that the right wing, this is what the right wing is about. This is not about protecting women's sports or whatever. This is not about protecting women. This is not about anything other than an opportunity to launch anti-trans bigotry. That's it. That's what this is about.
Around a boxing match between Italian Angela Carini and Algerian Iman Khalif. Now, let me break this down. So this is what happened. This is what is causing or was the start of all this so-called controversy.
Right.
Angela
So-called
Carini
because
abandons Olympic fight after.
There's literally no controversy here. There's zero controversy. She just couldn't handle it. That's it.
After 46 seconds against Iman Khalif. Now, Angela Carini, basically after taking a couple of shots, realized that she was getting hit pretty hard and was not going to win this fight. She bowed out, and Iman Khalif wins the fight. Now, where's the controversy? Well, there are people claiming online that Iman Khalif is trans, or not even just she is a man, not even whatever. There's a man beating up a woman here. That is what is being claimed, which is just patently false. And I'll even get to someone who ended up correcting their misinformation in a bit here. But here is some of that misinformation. J.K. Rowling tweeting out, could any picture some of our new men's rights movement better? The smirk of a male who knows he's...
Yeah, not surprising that this clown would show up. Not surprising that this clown would show up to this discourse.
Protected by a misogynist sporting establishment, enjoying the distress of a woman he's just punched in the head and whose life's ambition he just shattered. J.K. Rowling, in case I'm sure you know by now, has a very weird obsession with hating on trans people. It is bizarre to say the least. Logan Paul also tweeting out here, this is the purest form of evil. The purest form of evil. I've been
so gross.
Watching what's been unfolding in Gaza. I don't think this is the purest form of evil. But anyways, the purest form of evil unfolding right before your eyes. A man was allowed to beat up a woman on a global stage, crushing her life.
So gross. Man, I don't know why they would even... I don't know why they would even let him on WWE.
Stream while fighting for her deceased father. The delusion must end. Logan Paul, I'll show you later, ends up correcting himself because he realized he looks like a dumbass. Now, let's first be clear about Iman Khalif's record. She's lost 5 times. So, even if she didn't, this is still a woman in a boxing match. But regardless, this is not someone who is dominated.
Yeah, like, wait, out of all 14 fights, she's won 5, she's lost 5? Oof. Yikes.
In the sport. She's lost 5 times. She was at the Olympics last time and lost in the quarterfinals. Khalif, who is a UNICEF ambassador, has previously spoken about growing up in a rural village and not being allowed to take part in sport, initially by her father, as, quote, he did not approve of boxing for girls. So, again, just to hammer this home, Khalif is a woman. She was raised a woman. She's born a girl. She's not trans, not a man. Khalif is not transgender, and changing gender is illegal in Algeria, as are many other LGBT rights.
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning. Like Algeria. Okay, that's the context that this is being put under. She was from Algeria. She is from Algeria. Okay. There's no way that they would allow this to happen. Okay.
Now, Khalif does apparently have DSD. This is where I think that the real discussion starts. But I think this is quickly put to bed with the next bit. But just to be clear here, DSD are a group of rare conditions involving genes, hormones, and reproductive organs. Some people with DSDs are raised as female but have XY sex chromosomes and blood testosterone levels in the male range, which is the reason, apparently, why she was banned from other international boxing organizations. So there was a couple. I think it's actually in this piece here.
Yeah. So like, for all the freaking clowns who are like, oh, but you know, XY automatically means male. That's not always the case. She's a cis female.
So she did. So once she reached the final, she was disqualified for failing to meet eligibility criteria, and that was based on, they're saying, medical reasons.
Right. And by the way, the statement put out just a few hours ago, they said that they disagreed with the IBA back then, with their ways of how they came to that conclusion. I think the term is intersex. Yeah, they have. He just said what the chromosome, what the name was. Welcome.
It was
Which covers a wide range of conditions and state of being. Correct.
reported due to high levels of testosterone. So, even though, to be clear, these are her natural testosterone levels. This is who she is. This is her natural advantage. Now, you may think, well, she can't fight. It's not fair, right? She has this natural advantage. Shouldn't be allowed to fight. What's interesting, though, and this point is never brought up in any of these discussions.
So, like, by that standard, then, like, people like Michael Phelps should have never been allowed to compete. People who have an exceedingly tall, people who are exceedingly tall, shouldn't be allowed to complete. Shouldn't be allowed to compete in basketball. People who are just absurdly strong, or absurdly fast, shouldn't be allowed to run. Does that make sense? Like, if you want to talk about, like, just being like, okay, well, people who have this amount of testosterone shouldn't be allowed. Like, you can discuss, like, the different types of levels where you want to take this, but, like, let's be honest, these people don't care to have that conversation. This isn't about that. This isn't about that. Rick Rain, thank you for the follow.
With these anti-trans clowns, athletes in all sports, there are advantages. Some athletes have advantages. Michael Phelps, Olympic swimmer.
Right, there you go. Literally the example I went to. You can't really judge how hard you have been hit. You can't really judge how hard you have been hit if it's one punch on your chin. I don't know what that means. That's about their hangouts.
Possesses a disproportionately vast wingspan, for example, double jointed ankle.
The Olympic boxer quit after one punch. Yeah, she's just a sore loser. That's what this is about. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. She's just a sore loser. That's it.
Give his kick unusual range, and a quirk that borders on supernatural. Phelps apparently produces just half the lactic acid of a typical athlete,
And like, why is nobody like, oh, but someone like Phelps is being praised and lauded as a really big like Olympic athlete, right? How come that's not the same with a woman? How come that's never the same standard with a woman?
And since lactic acid causes fatigue, he's simply better equipped at a biological level to excel in his sport. Now, do you remember conversations about, oh, Michael Phelps should not be allowed to swim?
No.
No, he has this natural advantage. He should be kicked out. It's not fair to the other swimmers. No, that was never a conversation.
Right. In fact, he was yes, he was celebrated. That's right. Took the words right out of my mouth. I didn't even watch this video yet. Took the words right out of my mouth. He was celebrated. I literally just said that 10 seconds before.
Celebrated as this incredible athlete.
Correct. Oh my God.
Despite, or maybe even because of, these natural advantages. These were never seen as a detriment to him. Yet, why is it different when it comes to someone like Iman Khalif? Not to mention, like basketball.
Yeah, and by the way, this wasn't an issue last time when she lost. Her being in the last Olympics wasn't an issue either, by the way.
Should we not allow tall people to play basketball? Because
Yeah,
clearly
true.
they have an advantage
Yep.
over people
True.
who aren't tall. No, it's you either have to be on the side of we need to include everyone, all these natural advantages. People are gonna have natural advantages in whatever sport that they're in. Like, or not everyone, obviously, but certain people in certain sports have advantages. This being one of them. You either accept that, or you want to dumb down all the sports and kick everyone out who may have an unfair advantage in your mind, an unfair advantage to, say, the average athlete in that sport. This is stupid. No, these people should be allowed to play. These people should, of course, tall people should be allowed to play basketball. Of course, Michael Phelps should be allowed to swim. Of course, Iman Khalif.
You're predicting all his points. I'm not predicting. We just I've just watched this channel for a very long time, and I appreciate the content that he does. So I've kind of grown. And besides, like it's just logical, right? It's just logical. It's just logic.
Should be allowed to fight. These are natural advantages that these athletes have. They exist in all sports. Now, Logan Paul came out later to tweet this out. Oopsies. I might be guilty of spreading misinformation along with the entirety of this app.
Oopsies. Yeah, exactly. On the same wavelength. That's correct. Oopsies. Hey, listen, a-hole. You might want to think 5 seconds and double check what you're tweeting before you tweet it. Okay? Olympics are about the best of the best. Exactly. Exactly. And what's funny is that, like, we're not even talking about the best of the best. I mean, like, sure, she's an Olympian athlete that made it to the Olympics. That's a pretty impressive feat in and of itself. But like, her record isn't exactly stellar. It sounds like they're upset because they lost. Yeah, the Italian boxer is absolutely just crying because she lost. The Italian boxer, like, she couldn't slip a proper jab and got bopped in the face for it and quit. Okay, I don't know if it's just something that she's going through because she lost her father this year, I think, right before the Olympics. I don't know if that's causing her to be upset more than she should be. I don't know if that's like something that's playing mind games with her when she was in the ring, that she only literally, like, she was there for not even, she was there for like 46 seconds flat. And maybe, whatever the case may be, I don't know. But the point is, she's being a sore loser. She's being a sore loser. That's what's happening here.
which is not true, just people that he follows apparently. Although she's been previously disqualified for failing a gender test and his XY chromosome, some sources say Iman Khalif was born a biological woman. I stand by my sentiment that biological men should not compete against biological women in any sport, and if you disagree, you're a sick F. So it appears he disagrees with his initial tweet because she is a woman. Yet it's still up. He hasn't deleted it. It has what now? 90,000 likes, 16,000 retweets. This bullshit, this misinformation being spread, and he's kept it up. Insane. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Should we just ban people that have natural advantages?
Yeah, just ban everybody. Okay. In fact, no more sports. All right. This is in service. This is in service to my anti sports propaganda. Okay.
Sport, or do you agree that this is just the reality of these sports, and some people are going to have these advantages, and who cares?
Yeah, sports are work. Sports are woke now. Yeah. And Algeria, known bastion for LGBTQ plus rights, has now fallen to the woke mind virus. Welcome, Bipedal Meatbag. All right. Shifting gears, because I've seen this discourse way too much on Twitter, so yeah. By the way, that misinformation is still up. Like, even though it's quite easy to verify, yeah, sports are woke. There's another psycho sicko, which is to keep sports but stop gender segregating them and just have one sport thing for everyone. I don't know. How you want to solve that is entirely like, I'm not a sports person, but like, if you want to like sit there and try to like figure out how you want to divide this, if you want to divide by like if you want to divide by like gender and then weight classes, weight classes and size, because like the way we used to do a long time ago back in martial arts, we used to have height and weight categories. We used to have height and weight categories. There you go. And this is still going on. Look. These clowns are still freaking. Let me guess. This is like some kind of turf. Yeah. Yeah, this makes sense. Anyways, shifting gears.
Check this out. The enthusiasm gap that Democrats have worried. Check this out. The enthusiasm gap that Democrats have worried about, at least for now, entirely erased. Democrats enthusiastic about Kamala Harris's candidacy, just like Republicans are for Trump. And this is a striking number. 49% of independents say they are enthusiastic about Kamala Harris. Compare that number to Trump's, and you see how this race has been turned on its head, Robin.
It's actually possible we'll see higher turnout than what we saw in 2020, which is what you pointed out was record turnout.
Things that matter like reproductive freedom, reproductive justice, democracy and freedom as itself, they're going to play a big role in how voters lean in as we get closer to November.
Listen, Kamala Harris's momentum is real. She's only been the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee for a little over a week, and already so much has changed. A lot has gone in her favor, and things will continue to get better for her if current trends hold. And the best part about all of this is Donald Trump has no idea how to react seeing these polls surge and seeing this election kind of slip away from him. We'll talk about his reaction in a moment, but spoiler alert, he's losing his shit. So, on Truth Social, he's switching between lying Kamala and crazy Kamala and
Laughing Kamala.
I've seen him use communist Kamala, so he doesn't know what name to use for her.
Comrade Kamala.
And when it comes to attacks, he really doesn't have anything to say with regard to policy. So he's trying to attack her for the worst reason ever, and he's doubling down on perhaps the most disastrous attack he's ever used against another candidate. So we'll get to all of that. But for now, I just kind of want to show you where we are with regard to this Harris v. Trump race. So according to this poll conducted by Redfield and Wilton, Kamala's approval rating has surged to the point where she now has a net approval rating of +1 for the first time since 2021, which is a really big deal. Now, average polls still have her down by about 11 points, but it's trending positively overall, which is a very good sign for somebody running for president. Now, additionally, Reuters.
Right, especially that she's been in the race, for a week and a half now? At this point? Almost 2 weeks?
Reports that a Morning Consult poll shows that she has completely erased Trump's lead in swing states, and now she narrowly is leading in 4 of those states and tied in 1, but keep in mind that they're both statistically tied in every state excluding Michigan, where they find her leading by 11.
Yeah, so with Biden running, he was losing all of these swing states, okay? Within the span of a week and a half, or we'll just say basically 2 weeks at this point, right? Because it'll be 2 weeks, I think, this Sunday. It'll be 2 weeks this Sunday since Biden dropped out, if I'm correct. Within the span of those 2 weeks, we're already the Democratic Party went from losing to statistical tie and trending in a positive direction.
Although I don't actually think that's correct. I'm assuming that this poll is an outlier or a sampling error because this is going to be a really close race. So I can't imagine her winning Michigan by 11. But regardless, she's performing very well, needless to say, when you consider the fact that Biden was losing in every single swing state just a couple of weeks ago. Now, from that same Morning Consult poll, we got one of the most positive signs yet. Biden's decision to not run for re-election is having a very positive effect on turnout. More than 60% of Black and Gen Z voters now say they're much more or somewhat more likely to vote vote now that he's not in the race. And that number is more than 50% for Hispanic voters and over 40% for all registered voters. And I can't stress this enough. Voter turnout is what decides every single election. So Kamala Harris is doing what Biden wasn't able to do. She is driving turnout, which is crucial for Democrats, especially in battleground states. Now, these results are consistent in a poll conducted by the New York Times and Siena College. Look at how interesting this is. They're comparing Biden's advantage against Donald Trump to Harris's advantage, and among 18 to 29-year-olds, she's at plus 29. That is absolutely huge. Now, she's also at plus 14 with millennials and Gen Xers, and at the very bottom, you see that she's at plus 12 with independents. That is a massive, massive deal. Now, we're not going to dive into this poll here, but as Mediaite explains, way more Democrats are now satisfied with Harris as the nominee compared to Biden, and they're basing this off of an AP NORC poll. Now, last but not least, I do want to look at general election polls. This isn't necessarily the most important because this is basically where they stand with regard to the popular vote, and elections aren't decided by the popular vote. They're decided by the Electoral College. Regardless, on average, Trump leads by 1.5 points, but Harris is reversing that trend too. Trump was beating Biden in almost all head-to-head matchups, and now Harris leads in 3, Trump leads in 4, and they are tied in 2. And if this trend continues, she could actually pass him nationally by the convention in August, where she's then expected to get another bump. Now, a lot of this could be a smokescreen. It could be due to the fact that everybody's kind of in a honeymoon period, and a lot can change between now and November because polls are generally fickle and they're just a snapshot in time of where the race is right now.
Right, but the point being is where the trend is heading, right? Which is what my argument has been, what my argument has been for forever. Every time somebody brings up, polls. It doesn't matter what one poll says. It doesn't matter what 2 polls say. It doesn't matter, really. What matters is what the aggregate trend of where those numbers are looking is what matters, right? If you've been polling at 39% for the past 5 months, I mean, I think the trend is pretty clear at that point. And Joe Biden has been polling in a negative trend 4 months. 4 months.
But if you step back and you look at the bigger picture thus far, one thing is absolutely undeniable. Harris is surging.
Why is our border a chaos?
Now, I want to go back to the importance of turnout and play a clip from Harry Anton of CNN, because even though Harris is still the underdog in this race, and if the election were held today, Trump is still the favorite, what Harry Anton says here is really important because this right here could prove make or break for Harris.
We were looking at a potentially much lower turnout this go around in 2024 than 2020. So this is almost certain to vote in the election. You look post-debate 2024, look at that. It was just 55% of registered voters. That was actually the same as it was pre-debate, 55%. It was significantly lower than it was in 2020 during the summer when it was 60%. But look at where we are now. We are now at 62% after the RNC, after Kamala Harris gets into this race, and that is actually a higher number than what we saw during the summer of 2020 when it was 60%. So at this particular point, as we look at the math right now, if we are trusting what voters are saying, it's actually possible we'll see higher turnout than what we saw in 2020, which is what you pointed out was record turnout. So quite the shift here. It's not just enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's undeniably important. Like even if you just kind of take these two numbers, post debate, 55% versus a 8 or 7-point boost.
It's actually people saying that they're going to go out and almost certainly vote.
If you believe what voters are saying with that gap.
I mean, if we don't, then this is all not going to work.
Well, it's all funny money anyway.
Yeah.
Why?
Why is it? Well, throughout this entire cycle, we've been pointing out that there were a ton of voters who disliked both Biden and Donald Trump. So pre-RNC, right? 20% in the New York Times polling, 20% in Ipsos polling. Look at where we are today. Look how dramatically these numbers have dropped. Look at this. New York Times down to 8% who say they dislike Harris and Trump. How about Ipsos? The same pattern, 7%. This is very different now than what we saw prior. It looks a lot more like 2020 when it was just 3% who disliked both major party candidates, and very much unlike what we saw in 2016 when it was 18% in the exit polls, which looked a lot more like what we saw earlier in the year. So the fact is, voters are much more apt to at least like one of the candidates, and I think that's part of the reason why voters are much more likely to turn out, because if you dislike both major party candidates, why actually turn out and vote?
But that was what RFK Jr. was counting on. That were, I guess, on some level.
That was what he was counting on. In fact, that was his core group of voters, right? Those who dislike both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So what's happened to him now? Look at this. He was at 15% in December. He was at 10% post-debate. He has dropped all the way down to 5%. The fact that Harris...
He is not happy.
He is not happy about it. He is not happy about it. The fact that the voters actually do like one of the major party candidates
Loser.
really is devastating to his campaign. He might not even reach 5%. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up with 2 or 3%.
In other words, we are now living in a different world, politically speaking. The America before Biden dropped out is very different than the America after Biden dropped out of the race. We could have changed the trajectory of America, not to sound hyperbolic, but I mean, it's true. That was such a monumental decision that now everything has changed. So if these trends continue that we're seeing with current polling, I like Kamala's chances a lot. Now, having said that, never ever get overly confident because polls do tend to tighten up as we get closer to elections. And there's so many variables. There's so many unknowns. Things can change. Currently, Trump is still the likely winner if the election were held today. So never get cocky. Always assume that you're going to lose and act like you're behind even if you're ahead. Like, just don't get overly confident. That's what I'm trying to say. But we've all been pretty doom and gloom lately, and after dealing with months of a likely Trump victory, I think that it's okay for us to just take a little bit of hopium, right? Just a little bit, but let ourselves have this, you know? Now,
not too much. Okay? We gotta accept reality as it is. But as he was saying, it is looking better than it was just a couple weeks ago. I'll say that.
I have to mention something else. People like myself, you know, when we called for Biden to drop out, we were told to shut up because we were apparently helping Donald Trump. If you go back to the videos and look at some of those comments, a lot of...
Yeah. I would also like to say again, to all like the really condescending, smug liberals, my DMs are open for apologies, you know? My DMs are open for apologies. Just saying.
You were a little bit mean, right? Now, I'm not going to say I told you so because I want to be polite and I don't want to violate the ceasefire between liberals and leftists that we all implicitly agreed to. But I will say this. We shouldn't just automatically assume that all criticism of a politician that we like comes from bad faith people. And when I criticize Democrats personally, it's not an endorsement of Republicans. It's intended to be constructive. That's key. So if you're a liberal who often tries...
Yeah, vote shaming didn't work in 2016 either.
To shut down good faith critiques from leftists like myself, maybe consider in the future whether or not there's some truth or value to what they're saying. That's all that I ask for. Now, on that note, notice how we're also kind of saying that we would really hope that Kamala chose Tim Walz as VP because that would be really good for excitement, and the feeling that we're feeling now would be turned up to an 11.
Yep.
You know, maybe take that into consideration as well, although none of us have control of that. But, you know, if you can exert pressure on Kamala, Tim Walz is a great pick. But
yeah, out of all the VP picks left, Tim Walz should be the VP.
I made you wait too long. So we're going to get to Trump's reaction because It is so goddamn good. Now, there's a lot of coping, a lot of seething going on, as you can imagine, if you look at his Truth Social timeline, and it's just endless shit talking about how Kamala Harris wants to defund the police and how she's a failed border czar. But here's some highlights that I want to show you, because these tweets...
Yeah, like that doesn't really land, right? Because she was like the top cop. She was a prosecutor. So like... That doesn't work.
Demonstrate just how scared he is currently. Quote, crazy Kamala Harris voted the word.
Yes, finally we get. Does Mike Figueroa do a lot of Trump impressions? Because that's how every Trump tweet should be read. Okay, or Trump post. Every Trump post. Because I refuse to call it a truth. But yeah, every time Trump posts, it should be read in the Trump impression.
First vice president in American history, by what standard, needed a concert to bring people into the Atlanta arena, and they started leaving 5 minutes into her speech. I don't need concerts or entertainers. I just have to make America great again. Okay, bud, keep telling yourself that. Another one about the rally in Atlanta.
Crazy Kamala.
Why is Fox News putting on crazy Kamala Harris rallies? Why do they allow perverts at the failed and disgraced Lincoln Project to advertise on Fox News? Even Mr. Kellyanne Conway, a man so badly hurt and humiliated by his wife.
Oh my God. Yeah, but this is the same person. This is the same person who also keeps like bemoaning the fake news media, but also needs their attention. He needs new nicknames. Lion has already been used. Yeah, he's not getting very creative with the nicknames this time around. He's losing his touch here. Lion Kamala, crazy Kamala, laughing Kamala. I agree. I think it's good. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
If she must have done some really nasty things to him, because he is crazy, is advertising on Fox News. We have to win without Fox. He's so stupid. He also shared this. Not even Democrats like this woman. So what is really going on? Read Truth if you think installing a candidate that nobody voted for is the opposite of democracy. Save democracy, vote Trump. I thought we were a Republican.
Wait, what do they care what's going... Listen, all right? There's a lot to be said about how the Democrats ran their primary, okay? You can criticize how the Democratic Party does their primary process. My brother in Christ, you're a Republican. This has nothing to do with you. He's just mad that she could actually pull this off. That's what this is about. He's angry because she might actually pull this off. There is a chance, is what I'm saying. There is a possibility that she could win.
Not a democracy, huh? What happened to that? Another one here. We're not ready for a Marxist president, and Lion Kamala Harris is a radical left Marxist and worse. Now,
Comrade Harris, a very well-known Marxist. A well-known, documented Marxist. Kamala Harris.
now, if you read between the lines, this is him saying, oh my God, she's going to win. Now, amazingly, he tweeted this after his disastrous interview with the National Association of Black Journalists. Crazy Kamala is saying she's Indian, not black. This is a big deal. Stone cold phony. She uses everybody, including her racial identity. Now, he also tweeted about this 6 days ago as well, but, you know, he seems to be ramping up this whole conspiracy about her not actually being black. Great idea, Don. Keep at it. This is, you know, I've got to say, this is a great strategy because it's really going to hurt Kamala among the people who don't know that there are biracial and multiracial people in this country. There are dozens, I'm sure, and they're all going to be very turned off by Kamala Harris supposedly lying about her identity. It's so fucking idiotic because if you ask like even a random ass white person, hey, tell me about your heritage, they'll go through the list. I'm 10% German, 20% Irish. Now, apparently it's outrageous though for Kamala to be both black and Indian, and Trump thinks that he can exploit this weakness of Kamala Harris. Folks, he is fucking freaking out and does not know what to do, and he's in this stage where he's just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, we're going through the stages of denial here, right? The stages of grief. Sorry, that's what's happening here. We're watching the 5 stages of grief. We're watching the 5 stages of grief happen live with this guy because he knows his team knows that it's possible that he's not going to win. And their plan accounted for Joe Biden staying in the race and crashing and burning, because that's really where the trajectory was going. If Joe Biden would have stayed in this race, it would have been pretty. It would not been good.
But he doesn't realize that it's only hurting him because the things that he's throwing at the wall are hurting him. He's hoping that something will hurt Kamala, but it's hurting him because, again, I've said this once, I'll say it again. This is normie repellent. When you say, oh my God, this black woman isn't really black, she's lying about her heritage, when you be overtly racist and sexist, you are turning off independents. You are turning off suburban women who might vote Republican. So the fact that he sees her surging in the polls and responds by shitting his pants and calling her not black, I mean, that just kind of solidifies the fact that these trends are likely to continue if nothing changes. But like if he has full control and his aides don't rein him in, which I don't think that they will, then things are going to get a lot more ugly in this race, and he's going to get much more dumb and racist as time goes on. And I don't think he realizes how much that's going to hurt him. But regardless, continue, Trump, because you're only making the case against you. And we really don't have to do anything. Kamala doesn't really even have to do anything. She could just sit back, watch you implode, and laugh all the way to the White House if this keeps up. So, I don't know if he's going to stick with the whole Kamala isn't black narrative, but the fact that he's doubling down and doesn't know how disastrous this is for him shows you how out of touch he is. And if you just so you all, if you want more cope, go to Matt Walsh's timeline and you can see he's in full-blown panic mode.
Yeah. I mean, I would not recommend you to go to Matt Walsh's timeline, because if you do, you might incur psychic damage. Going into Matt Walsh's timeline has a risk of incurring psychic damage. So, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Oh, I love this.
He responded to Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo being at Kamala's rally by basically saying, listen, Democrats have all the celebrities and they haven't even trotted out Taylor Swift yet. It's embarrassing if Republicans bring out some washed up celebrity in response to this and, we all worship them. Just don't do that. Just focus on policy. Now, I think he's correct to a certain extent, but they can't focus on policy. 1, because they have no policy substance, and 2, the actual policy substance that they have is all deeply authoritarian and unpopular. What are they?
Right, it's horrifying. What are they going to talk about? How they're going to try to ban abortion nationally? How they're going to try to implement a theocratic fascist state?
They're going to talk about abortion. So there's no easy path to victory if you're Donald Trump, and you kind of just have to hope that he gets lucky and enough people become anti-Harris between now and November. But I think that these attacks that he's lobbing against her, attacking her for laughing and whatnot and being not black, that's just going to make her seem more sympathetic, because this is something that's out of her control. And you making this about identity politics is not a game that you want to play, Donald Trump. But again, by all means, continue.
True.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Love it. All right, folks, shifting gears. What is going on in Oklahoma? So I'm pretty sure that was the state that Kaya Rychek somehow managed to get a position on the school board, which, speaking of, the school's chief has been using libs of TikTok to attempt to root out employees who joked about Trump's ear getting nicked in the assassination attempt so that they could be fired. Let's take a listen. The Ponder Monkey, welcome. He talked about his plan to double down on trickle-down economics.
We cannot allow these individuals to continue to teach in the state of Oklahoma. I want to thank Kaya Rychek, who brought this first to my attention of what she found online to show this hateful, nasty rhetoric. And it is a very sad day in politics to see the hatred that's coming from the left.
First of all, you would not say the same thing about all the freaking violent rhetoric, actual violent rhetoric, the right wing does, okay? So please, like I said before, spare me with this faux, like suddenly, all of a sudden you care about civility, okay? Spare me. Please.
To want people assassinated for their beliefs. And I believe teachers are to teach, not indoctrinate. And so we want to make sure
that's freaking rich.
to send a
That's freaking rich.
message loud and clear that no one will be allowed to teach in the state of Oklahoma if they advocate the assassination of President Trump. We cannot allow these individuals.
I wonder if you would have the same energy. For people that joked about Paul Pelosi. I wonder if he has the same energy about the people that joked about the insurrection that happened, where a lot of people got hurt, a handful died, people went to prison for sedition. So I wonder if he has that same energy. I wonder if he has the same energy for the literal years of violent rhetoric that the right has been pushing. Probably not. So you know what? Spare me. I don't know if this is a position that you can elect, but if you're in Oklahoma and this is a position that's electable, pay attention, folks. Heat, how's it going? Sorry, I'm late. Nah, it's okay. You're good. Donald Trump says again he would absolutely pardon January 6th insurrectionists. Former President Trump said once again today that he would, that he would pardon the January 6th insurrectionists if he wins the election, repeatedly lying about what happened during the violent insurrection on the Capitol, which injured more than 140 police officers. Quote, "Oh, absolutely I would. If they're innocent, I would pardon them," Trump said during a panel at the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists. "They were convicted by a very tough system." You mean the justice system? More than 1,400 people have been charged in connection with the attack of the insurrection, of January 6th, and prosecutors have secured more than 1,000 convictions on charges ranging from unlawful parading to seditious conspiracy. Hundreds of cases still remain pending, and more arrests are expected before the 5-year statute of limitations runs out in 2026. But all the January 6 cases should theoretically be brought to an end if Trump wins and his appointees take over the Justice Department. Trump has referred to the January 6 insurrectionists as warriors, unbelievable patriots, political prisoners, and hostages. Senior District Judge Royce Lamberth, who was appointed by former President Ronald Reagan, has overseen numerous Capitol attack trials, has expressed shock at the preposterous rhetoric about convicted criminals that Republicans regularly use about January 6 insurrectionists. In my 37 years on the bench, I cannot recall a time where such meritless justification of criminal activity has gone mainstream. Asked Wednesday about his plans for January 6 insurrectionists by Rachel Scott of ABC News, Trump engaged in whataboutism, falsely claiming there had been a horrible attack on the Capitol last week when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to Congress. No, that wasn't an attack on the Capitol. That was a protest that police presence dispersed, for one. And for two, that protest wasn't at the behest of the president to go and overthrow or stop the peaceful transfer of power. That's the difference. You see? Police kept Palestinian demonstrators away from the Capitol. Trump appeared to be referring to the protests at Columbus Circle by Union Station, where protesters burned flags, spray-painted a 1912 monument to Italian explorer Christopher Columbus. Oh, no. And a 49-year-old replica of the Liberty Bell, and assaulted officers. One officer appeared to have been dragged by the collar from behind when he tried to make an arrest. 10 people were arrested, and U.S. Park Police are seeking identities of 6 others, including for assaults on officers and vandalizing federal property. Yeah, this is not remotely comparable. Having a protest, because you disagree because you disagree with what the foreign policy of this country is, versus literally encouraging an insurrection to overthrow or change or stop the legal election that happened, the legal certification that happened, is not the same. Not even remotely close. Vergonia. They should learn what it actually means. Exactly. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them more openly than I saw on January 6th. Yeah, right. Bro, we have video of what happened on January 6th, right? Don't let this loser gaslight you, okay? Don't let this loser gaslight you. We have video of what happened on January 6th. While there were assaults on officers on July 24th, they are not comparable to the multitude of assaults on law enforcement during the hours-long January 6th insurrection, which left multiple officers with life-altering and career-ending injuries and resulted in the line of duty of death in Washington. Police officer Jeffrey Smith, another officer, Brian Sicknick, died the day after the attack of natural causes, but a medical examiner said what happened during the attack played a role in his death. January 6th defendants were caught on tape brandishing or using firearms, stun guns, flagpoles, fire extinguishers, bike racks, batons, metal whip, officer furniture, pepper spray, bear spray, a tomahawk axe, a hatchet, hockey sticks, knuckle gloves, baseball bats, a massive Trump billboard, Trump flags, pitchforks, pieces of lumber, crutches, and even explosive device during the brutal attack. So nothing compared to the literal insurrection with the intention of stopping the electoral certification. Yeah, they tried to hang the VP and he cheered them on. Exactly. Did he ever say anything with regards to that? Did he ever say anything about the hang Mike Pence thing? Like, has he said, like, oh, I don't agree with that? He's never said anything like that, right? He's kind of just, like, not said anything or tried to be squirmy, try to worm his way out every time he gets asked about it, from what I can remember. Trump claimed that the spray paint on the monuments he falsely said were at the Capitol will never actually come off, especially in the limestone, and that paint will be seen on the stone 100 years from now. When the NBC reporter visited Columbia Circle on Wednesday evening, the cleanup effort appeared to have been effective, although some remnants of vandalism remained around the site. Trump claims about permanent damage to the monument are suspect. The monument, which few visitors even realize is dedicated to Columbus, has rarely fallen into disrepair and neglect, and the National Park Service noted in 2016 that the statuary had already been painted over to hide expanding discoloration. This isn't the first time the monument has been spray painted. Back in 91, Columbus Fountain was hit with red paint and 500 years of genocide graffiti. When Scott asked Trump directly whether he would pardon the January 6 insurrectioners who were seen assaulting officers with flagpoles and dragging officers downstairs to the Capitol, Trump didn't answer and instead pivoted to talking about the officer who shot and killed the January 6 insurrectionist. Quote, they shot at the young lady in the face who was protesting. Referring to Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and killed as she jumped through a broken window leading into the House Speaker's lobby as members of Congress were fleeing the mob that was trying to break into the House chamber. The black officer who shot and killed Babbitt has come under racist attacks and threats and said he shot her only as a last resort after law enforcement barricaded the doors with every piece of furniture they could find. Quote, you went after the J6 people with a vengeance, Trump said Wednesday before repeating a conspiracy theory that officers were ushering everybody in the Capitol. In reality, the officers at the Capitol were overwhelmed by a hostile mob, with one lifelong Republican officer testifying at a recent trial that the scene he saw was at the Capitol was unlike anything he'd encountered in his decades in law enforcement. Trump claimed that there was two systems of justice and he's facing criminal charges related to January 6th in his efforts to overturn the 2020 election as a result, not as a result of his own actions, but because he was being targeted owing to politics, which is not true. It is true that there's a two systems of justice in this country, but it is not the way that Trump describes it. Okay. We're going to win our cases and we're going to be vindicated, but I've spent a lot of time on that and money, and that's what they want. After the election, they won't care, though in my case, I think they'll probably will because the hatred is deep. Sure. Trump's trial over his efforts to stop the peaceful transfer of power by lying about the election results won't happen until after the November election because of the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity. That ruling is also likely to weaken special counsel Jack Smith's January 6 case against Trump. Trump's comments came the same day as Justice Department announced 3 new cases against the January 6 defendants. Michael Keith Williams was arrested in Texas with authorities saying he stormed the Capitol on January 6 while carrying a flag depicting then-President Trump as the character Rambo. Williams, authorities said, made it onto the floor of the Senate and then faced off with officers outside the Capitol and aggressively waved the large Trump flag towards officers for several minutes, which they said helped prevent officers from moving forward and interfere with the effectiveness of the chemical irritants they used to try to keep the pro-Trump mob at bay. Paul Noel was arrested in North Carolina, with authorities saying he approached a police line on the west of the front of the Capitol wearing a black paintball mask, and then yelled, "You're not Americans," at officers and refused police orders to move back before he pushed against officer shields. Jason Robert Tasker was arrested in Arizona, with authorities saying he harassed officers outside the Capitol, yelling, "All of you are dismissed, go home," before he lunged at officers during 2 confrontations and trying to grab officers during a struggle with police. He found another way into the building and then confronted officers inside the Capitol, prosecutors say. Tasker then bragged about his actions in a phone call on the steps of the Capitol. I was like the first person in, mama. I'm sorry. Really? That dude is like literally doing an insurrection and decides to call his mom to brag about the crimes he just committed. Amazing. Just a parade of fools. Where's my popcorn? Oh, shoot. I actually took back my cheese puffs. I thought he was just talking like Johnny Bravo. God, that cartoon was so cringe. As a kid, I've watched Johnny Bravo, but it never really landed. It never really landed. I just never got it as a kid. In an attempt to reverse the Supreme Court's immunity decision, Schumer introduces the No Kings Act. He does sound like Elvis, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Little hair. My parents liked it more than me. I didn't have much Cartoon Network growing up, but when I did, I think I was more into like the Marvel, the old school Spider-Man. The old school Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. It was Spectacular Spider-Man. That's what it was. It was pretty freaking good. Pokemon. That was my jam. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. The Justice League. Oh, Dexter's Lab. Yeah, I remember that one too. Powerpuff Girls. Bow, 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 bow. The Flintstones, too. Oh, man. I like Two Stupid Dogs. Samurai Jack. Yes. Yes, Samurai Jack. Yeah, I wonder if they even play those anymore. Cartoon Network is still a thing, right? Pretty sure it is. Same animators? Makes sense. It got really weird eventually. Cow and Chicken, Ed, Ed, and Eddie. I remember Ed, Ed, and Eddie. Ed, Ed, and Eddie was actually not that bad. But then again, I was a kid, so Ed, Ed, and Eddie actually entertained me. I remember that one. Still? You think so? Cartoon Network's still a thing? I don't have cable here, so. Man, they need to bring back the old school. Old school Yu-Gi-Oh! That was like the Saturday morning. Saturday morning was all about Pokemon, Spider-Man, Yu-Gi-Oh! That's what it was about. But I don't think that was on Cartoon Network, though. Pretty sure that was a different one. Cable's a ripoff. Yeah. It's like buying magazines. No, I'm not paying you for mostly to show me ads. Oh, man. Yep. I'd rather just watch the digital TV that comes with like the new, smart TVs. They come with like their own TV kind of thing, and you can actually get a lot of different channels from news channels. I mean, it's not cable, but it's free. It's so, you know. But they do have ads, so it is like kind of like TV. Alright, let's get the train back on the tracks. In an attempt to reverse the Supreme Court immunity decision, Schumer introduces the No Kings Act. I'm here talking about cartoons. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will introduce legislation on Thursday today, reaffirming the presidents do not have immunity for criminal actions, an attempt to reverse the Supreme Court's landmark decision last month. Schumer's No King Act would attempt to invalidate the decision by declaring that presidents are not immune from criminal law and clarifying that Congress, not the Supreme Court, determines whom federal criminal law is applied. Agreed, because, you know, Congress is supposed to legislate. Spiffy. Oh, by the way, speaking of Spiffy, did you see, I actually got the shirt. I actually got the shirt out of the wash just last night. Look at that. I do mindlessly channel surf from time to time on the digital TV. Alito's pondering retirement now. The court, like, is that real? If it is, that's good. Oh, it is true. My internet is potato. I'm sure it's awesome though. I'll try to post a pic on the Discord. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm an opinionated ass, so I won't say anything, but it's nice to see you. Well, hello. Off-world colonist. Howdy. Samuel Alito thinking about retirement. And Clarence Thomas is feeling the heat, so he might not be far behind. I hope so. In which case, man, that ups the ante. That ups the ante for the consequences of this election. Hildebeest rating with a party of 45. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, Thomas, too. Welcome, everybody. Folks, if you haven't seen me before, I am a difficult truth. I do the news. I do the politics. We are here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoy your stay, consider hitting the follow button, as a few of you have already done. Thank you all for hanging out. Hildebeest, thank you so much for bringing your wonderful community over. If you enjoy the content, grab a beverage, put some earphones on, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. Yeah, Hilda's here. Thank you. Welcome. Well, I suppose I'm going to go over this afterwards. So I think this is a good setup to that article. Thank you, Bipedal Meatbag. That is pretty relevant. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will introduce legislation today reaffirming that presidents do not have immunity for criminal actions, an attempt to reverse the Supreme Court's landmark decision last month. Schumer's No Kings Act would attempt to invalidate the decision by declaring that presidents are not immune from criminal law and clarifying that Congress, not the Supreme Court, determines to whom federal criminal law is applied. The court's conservative majority decided on July 1st that presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution for actions taken within their official duties, a decision that threw into doubt the Justice Department's case against Republican former President Trump for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election laws. I think reading that out loud is actually genuinely stunning. Reading this one paragraph out loud is genuinely stunning that this is where we're at. Winterberry, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome. Schumer of New York said that Congress has an obligation and the constitutional authority to check the Supreme Court on its decision. Given the dangerous and consequential implications of the court's ruling, legislation would be the fastest and most efficient method to correcting the grave precedent the Trump ruling presented. Yeah, true. Good old July 1st, ban in prison day. Nice to meet you. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. Dustin, welcome. I'm still curious to see how they interpret official duties. Well, that's the thing. You're right. It's incredibly vague. Vague. The Senate bill, which has more than 24 Democratic co-sponsors, comes after Democratic President Joe Biden called on lawmakers earlier this week to ratify a constitutional amendment limiting presidential immunity, along with establishing term limits and an enforceable ethics code for the court's 9 justices. Representative Joseph Morell recently proposed a constitutional amendment in the House. The Supreme Court's immunity decision stunned Washington and drew a sharp dissent from the court's liberal justices, warning of perils to democracy, particularly as Trump seeks a return to the White House. Trump celebrated the decision as a big win on social media, and Republicans in Congress rallied around him. Without GOP support, Schumer's bill has little chance of passing in the narrowly divided chamber. Speaking about Biden's proposal, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell said that Biden's proposal would shred the Constitution. How? Like, how would introducing term limits to an unelected position be shredding the Constitution? How would asking Congress to introduce legislation imposing an ethics code for the highest court in the land, where every other tier below, from federal down, has ethic codes, how is that shredding the Constitution? The Constitution is a living document. Mitch hasn't ever heard of the amendments. Oh, he's well aware. He just doesn't give a crap. He's well aware. Like, make no mistake. Someone like Mitch McConnell is well aware. He's just a freaking ghoul. He's just a freaking ghoul. A constitutional amendment would even be more difficult to pass. Such a resolution takes 2/3 of vote in both the House and Senate, which is highly unlikely at this time of the divided government, and ratification by 3/4 of the states. That process could take several years. Still, Democrats see the proposal as a warning to the court and an effort that will rally their voting base in the ahead of the presidential election. It doesn't matter. It's the right thing to do, right? It's the right thing to do. Vice President Kamala Harris, who's running against Trump in the November election, said earlier this week that reforms are needed because there's a clear crisis of confidence facing the Supreme Court. 100%. 100%. The title of Schumer's bill harkens back to Justice Sonia Sotomayor's dissent in the case, which she said in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. The decision makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. In the ruling, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority that our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power, entitles a former president to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for actions within conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority. But Roberts insisted that the president is not above the law, but effectively he is, right? These people die from old age and you can change vote. I mean, in the respect of where you can, I think that yeah, you should. It doesn't matter. I still think that there are things to show up to the ballot box for, right? Like, and I'll get to that in a second. Regardless, it is clear that reforms are needed in the Supreme Court. No doubt about it. Samuel Alito thinking about retirement, as brought to our attention by Pedal Meatbag. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is considering retirement amid pushback he has received in recent months, according to a new report. Associated with Stop the Steal campaign aimed at overturning Biden's presidential election win. He also saw a notable loss in a ruling on how social media site... Wait a minute, what? What is this? Oh, okay, sorry. He also saw a notable loss in a ruling on how social media sites should moderate content. The 75-year-old has reflected in private about retirement, a new CNN report has stated, citing sources inside and outside the court with knowledge of the deliberations. Newsweek has contacted Alito for a comment outside of typical working hours. The Supreme Court media ruling came in June. The court voted 6-3 to overturn a federal appeals court in Louisiana, which concluded that the interactions between social media companies and the federal government under President Biden, including requests to remove content constitutionally a likely violation of First Amendment, must be curtailed. Amy Coney Barrett and Ketanji Jackson did not vote with the other traditionally conservative justices, leaving Alito on the losing side of a 6-3 ruling led by Justice Elena Kagan. Right. So another way of putting it is that these clowns tried to make the case that the federal government was interfering and therefore violating the First Amendment, and the Supreme Court, despite the supermajority, the conservative supermajority, found that nah, actually no, that's not what happened here. Vergonia. Alito also saw himself on the losing side of the court's decision, allowing Texas Councilwoman Sylvia Gonzalez to sue over what she said was a politically motivated arrest after she criticized her local mayor. There were claims at the time that Alito had seen the decision taken from him based on the fact that Alito's concurring opinion on Gonzalez versus Trevino was far longer than the per curiam decision of the majority. So he's big mad and salty, and I guess he's going to turn tail. However, the one controversy has dogged Alito the most this year is the flag issue. Vergonia! He insisted that the upside-down flag had been flown by his wife in response with a feud with neighbors, but several have questioned his version of events. Yeah, this is the Vergonia incident. So I just heard about the Star Wars opening Olympics, the bigots strike out part 2 by attacking trans people. I have to say, using using the Republicans' facts over feelings. Every male is technically a trans female to male at conception as a zygote. We're all female. The X converts into a Y. Yeah, but you can't. You're not going to be able to explain this to rational. You're not going to be able to explain this to irrational people who just want the opportunity to take pot shots at trans people, right? Like, we went over this at the beginning of the stream, and like, it's very clear that like the whole point of this, like, the whole point of this is just to attack trans people. That's it. The whole faux like outrage and discourse about the sore loser at the women's boxing is just that. It's just plain and simple. It's just they took advantage of a sore loser and made it an opportunity to attack trans people. I was pointing out the stupidity as, yeah, I was pointing out, I got you. No worries. I got you. Alito has faced numerous calls to recuse himself from cases involving the 2020 election and January 6th insurrection. He has pushed back against these calls, saying any reasonable person who is not motivated by political or ideological considerations or a desire to affect the outcome of the Supreme Court case would conclude that the events recounted do not meet the applicable standard of recusal. Whatever. You can say that all you want, but you're just making the case as to why there should be enforceable, clear code of ethics. Is he not a woman who identifies as a man? Wait, who? I'm confused. These issues, along with controversies around gifts Alito has allegedly accepted, all have led calls for impeachment on social media. Supreme Court justices generally serve for life unless they decide to retire. In 2018, 81-year-old Justice Anthony Kennedy stepped down after writing a letter to then President Trump about wanting to spend more time with family. No, that boxer was a cis woman fighting in the cis... she was a cis woman fighting in the women's division. There was no controversy there. Zero controversy. The only controversy was spurned by transphobes. Yeah, it was a cis woman fighting in the fighting in the women's division. That's it. There's no controversy except transphobes trying to take an opportunity to take pot shots at trans people. She's not trans. Not even a sore lose. She was okay with losing and want the other girls to actually win. It's just white knights and red fedoras. But he identifies as a man? No, she doesn't. At no point has she said that she's a man. The boxer is a woman who was born a woman and was raised a woman and was approved to fight already. Right, like there's no controversy here. Like it's just simple. She was a woman. The other woman couldn't take it. And that was it. And transphobes jumped on the opportunity to take potshots at trans people. She's a cis woman. That's it. That's the end of the story. I'm sorry, I thought that was what it was about and it sounded strange. It is strange, isn't it? It is kind of strange. Isn't it a little bit weird? Don't you think that these freaks have such an obsession with trans people that they are literally like going after just cis women? It is strange. It sounds strange because it is strange. She would never have made it to the match if that was the case. Her country kills exactly. Like, she's from Algeria of all places. Like, I was making a mention of that earlier. Like, she's from Algeria of all places. Like, none of it makes sense. The reason why it sounds strange is because it is strange. Because it's not true. It's just a bunch of transphobes being transphobes. That's it. Anyways. We've got two more articles. A Colorado clerk who became hero to election conspiracists wanted to preserve data. The former Colorado County Clerk Tina Peters, who we've heard from, who we've no stranger to on this stream, a hero to election conspiracy theorists who was accused of orchestrating a breach of election security equipment, was trying to prevent voting information from being erased, her lawyer said at the start of her trial Wednesday. I get it. So she wasn't trying to, break into election equipment for any nefarious reasons. She was trying to prevent voting information from being erased. Gotcha. Makes sense. Under the laws in place in 2021, when Peters allowed a man who prosecutors say was working with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell to make a copy of the Dominion voting system's computer hard drive, she was allowed to hire a consultant to make such a copy, defense attorney Amy Jones said during these opening statements. She believes she needed to save that data, said Jones, who did not deny that the copy was made. But prosecutor Robert Shapiro portrayed the man as a cyber mercenary who Peters brought in without conducting a background check and committed identity theft by passing him off as another person who had obtained a clearance to work in her office. He said Peters contracted the man, who was not been charged, after she met with Douglas Frank, another person working with Lindell, one of the nation's most prominent election conspiracy theorists. Frank, an Ohio math teacher, had been traveling around the country looking for evidence of voter fraud when he met with Peters and then hatched a plan. Jesus Christ. And despite that, Shapiro told jurors that the case against Peters was not about election fraud or conspiracy theories. Right. It's a simple case of fraud and of deceit and fraud. Colorado state election officials became aware of the alleged security breach in Mesa County a few months later. Yeah, fake identity, a classic security policy, right? Oh my God. Colorado state officials, election officials became aware of the alleged security breach in Mesa County a few months later when a photo and a video of confidential voting system passwords were posted on social media and a conservative website after Peters joined Lindell on stage at a cyber symposium and promised to reveal proof of election rigging, which never happened. Peters, who pleaded not guilty to the charges, has argued that she had a duty to preserve the results of the election before the voting system was upgraded, and that she should not be prosecuted for carrying out her job. Sure. Whatever. The hard drive copied included proprietary software developed by Dominion Voting Systems that is used by election officials around the country. The Colorado-based company has been the subject of conspiracy theories blaming its election equipment for Trump's loss. It filed several defamation lawsuits as a result, settling a case against Fox News for a $787 total million last year, just a couple hundred shy of $1 billion. Just saying. Experts have described the unauthorized release as serious, saying it provided a potential practice environment that would allow anyone to probe for vulnerabilities that could be exploited during a future election. Every accusation just ends up being a confession, right? The incident is one of a handful of suspected security breaches that occurred in the aftermath of the 2020 election amid false claims by Trump that the voting systems were rigged against him. Trump ally Sidney released the Kraken Powell pleaded guilty last year to reduce charges in a case in Georgia. Prosecutors allege that she conspired with others to access election equipment without authorization in Coffee County and hired a computer forensic firm to copy software and data from voting machines and computers. Election security experts and computer scientists say an effort to access voting system software in several states and provided to Trump allies pose a serious threat ahead of this year's presidential election. Do you think that the start of the Olympics was a parody of the Last Supper or just a coincidence? It wasn't. It was a depiction of something with the Greek gods because it's the Olympics. It's the Olympics. So it was a depiction of some type of event in mythology of the Greek gods. And it was a feast of the gods or something like that. Nothing to do with Christianity. Anyone thinking that this had to do with the Last Supper is just a clown. Okay, it's just a clown. Like it is actually amazing, the lengths that like these freaks will go to paint themselves as the victims, to paint themselves. Oh, they're attacking Christianity. They're making fun of the Last Supper. Not everything is about you. Not everything is about you. It makes zero sense. This is the Olympics. It was a depiction of a Greek god, a Greek god dinner, a Greek god something or other festival. As an atheist, I could see it. See what? It just makes no sense. Like the amount of the stretch is astonishing. But hey, you know, these people want to be victims 24/7 because it's how they operate. It is unknown if Peters, who has repeated false accusations at the 2020 presidential election in which Donald Trump lost to Biden, was a planned fraud on a grand scale and will testify during the nearly 2-week trial in the city of Grand Junction. But Shapiro said her two closest colleagues would testify and take the stand against her. Peters' chief deputy, Belinda Knisley, and the other aide who was with her when the first computer image was taken, former elections manager Sandra Brown, both pleaded guilty under deals which require them to testify against Peters. Uh-oh. There was no Greek god Dionysus. Yes, there is. What do you mean? Like, the literal person... Like, that's who they were depicting. Cat Pig, welcome. Why would he be portrayed in that scene? Because he was crucial to that scene. He was literally front and center of that. Feast of the Gods, thank you. Feast of the Gods, that's what it was. Anyways, the point being is that this is not, this didn't have to do with the Last Supper. Yeah, the cornucopia. Yep. It's the freaking Olympics, okay? This has to do with, like, Greece, okay? Jesus Christ. Anyways. Judge Matthew Barrett has barred Peters from portraying herself as a whistleblower during the trial and also ruled the defense cannot try to make the case about election integrity or dominion. The trial began several delays. Peters' failed bid to become Colorado's top election official and her decision to change attorneys on the eve of the trial date in February. The jury was seated Wednesday after being questioned by lawyers earlier in the day in the solidly Republican county near the Utah border, which Donald Trump won the 2020 presidential election with 63% of the vote. Peters is charged with 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, criminal impersonation, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, 1 count of identity theft, first-degree official misconduct, violation of duty, and failing to comply with the Secretary of State. Prosecutors allege a second image of the election computer was taken after it was upgraded. The next day, they say Peters mailed the package to the man who had taken the first image, but who left before the second could be completed. He has not been charged. Send that to me, Footlong. Peters' case was the first instance amid the 2020 conspiracy theory in which a local election official was charged with a suspected security breach of voting system. It has heightened concerns nationally for the potential insider threat. Yeah, I think Twitch thinks you posted a link which replaced it with exactly. This must be a troll. This must be a troll. I will protect your right to say what you want even if I don't agree. What does this have to do with anything? I'm so lost. This must be a troll. Yeah, like this is literally what this was about. So, yeah. Anyways. Every feast puts everybody on one side of the table so the viewer of the painting can see everybody. Right. Like no, this has to be bait. This has to be a troll. This has to be bait. Peters' case was the first incident among the 2020 conspiracy theories in which a local election official was charged with a suspected security breach of voting systems. It heightened concerns nationally for the potential of insider threats in which rogue election workers sympathetic to lies about the 2020 election might use their access to election equipment and knowledge gained through the breaches to launch attacks from within. It's pretty freaking scary, if you ask me. It's pretty freaking scary that, like, these people manage to get access to the voting machines like that. I guess that makes you Mad Max. Senate Republicans block bill to expand child tax credits. Although on the voting machines, I think voting stuff should be open to review. That includes source code, though I don't see the point of voting machines to begin with. Well, because we kind of need... There's literally tens of millions of people voting. Like, hundreds of millions of people voting. I've been volunteering as an election counter here in Germany. It's not that hard. Well, here we have like hundreds of millions of people voting in 50 different states that all have their own parameters. It's kind of a thing, but yeah. Thing is, where they're not going to override the data on the machine since there's a law that requires them to save the data so many years. When high political ambitions meet lowest contract bidder, you get anarchy. My state is allowing Proud Boys to monitor voting, so that's not good. You have 4 times as many people to vote and 4 times as many to volunteer as counters. A better counter would be the same amount of stuff you vote on. Or you just have machines that automate that stuff with a paper backup, so that if there are contentions, then you would kind of double check the data if it comes up. Like, there's literally nothing wrong with the system that we have. And there's no reason to like, if it's not fixed, don't break. If it's not broken, don't fix it kind of deal. Right? Because like, the problem is that like these people are inserting, they're making up problems that don't exist, right? Like if there was evidence that there was some serious issues with like the way the machines work, the way the counting or whatever, then fine, audit that and figure out where the problem is and correct it. But they never provide any evidence of any of that. Does that make sense? Voter verified paper trail is acceptable. Yeah, well, yeah, it literally gives you a paper trail. All of the machines that are there provide a paper backup, right? So if there was discrepancy, there's a paper backup to compare where you could go back and see, like, okay, wait a minute, that machine said there was, 10 votes. This paper trail says there's 9. Okay, like, does that make sense? There's no evidence of misuse, and obviously what Trump's idiots say is BS, right? But like, there's no. Before I get into insane claims about Venezuela or whatever, conspiring with Dominion, yeah, that was amazing. That was genuinely amazing. The ghost of Hugo Chavez, amazing. How about having a national law by declaring the number of voting precincts are determined by population density rather than by county? I wouldn't be opposed to that. All right, folks, we got one more. Senate Republicans block bill to expand child tax credit because, of course, Democrats held the vote amid criticisms over Senator J.D. Vance's comments about childless cat ladies seeking to cast the GOP as on the wrong side of helping families raise children. Introducing proportional representation, or at least for the House, and directly electing the president. Those are thoughts. It would speed up the counting process. As a programmer, I would say there's a way to test without revealing source code, because if you reveal the source code, you have completely rewrite the program every election. Yeah. I'm sure of course there's ways. Right, and there, to my knowledge, there isn't. There isn't anything open source about the way we do things in terms of the election machines. But anyways. What is a Fortran? I'm curious. Senate Republicans blocked the bipartisan bill on Thursday today on expanding the child tax credit and provide some tax breaks for businesses, all but sinking it for the rest of the year. Nice. Way to go, family. The party of family. My food is ready. Well, enjoy, because my food is coming up next. The food. The vote. Oh, an old dying language? Gotcha. The vote was 48-44, with the vast majority of GOP senators voting against it. Democrats vote in favor, with the exception of 2 independents who caucus with Democrats, Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin. And just 3 Republicans voted for it, Senator Josh Hawley, Rick Scott, and Markane Mullen. Quote, "This should be a non-brainer," said Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, told reporters. Right now, the only ones standing in the way are Senate Republicans. Everyone else, even the House Republicans, are for this. But before it failed, Schumer switched his vote to no to maintain his option to bring up the bill again. Today, because of Republicans, American families lost. The Senate GOP opposition to the bill, led by Mike Grapo of Idaho, the ranking member of the Finance Committee, who's aligned with the party leadership, he told NBC this week that the bill is inadequately funded and doesn't have enough conditions on the child tax credit to win his vote. Not enough means testing. Got it. On Thursday, Crapo, they need to run on this every day. Yes, 100%. On Thursday, Crapo called it a senseless... No secure system uses base Linux. On Thursday, Crapo called it a senseless show vote and that Senate Republicans weren't properly consulted on, and said the generous provisions meant the bill isn't tax relief, it's a subsidy. Whatever, dude. Call it whatever you want, but the point is it's going to help families. The vote on the bill, which would provide the most financial help to multi-child households, comes as J.D. Vance, the GOP vice president nominee, faces criticisms over past remarks disparaging childless cat ladies and questioning the character of women who choose to not have kids. Vance was scheduled to visit the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona on Thursday and missed the vote. While he hasn't said how he'd vote on the bill, Vance said the child tax credit is a great thing and I fully support expanding it. Well, apparently not enough to vote on it. Responding to the criticism that he missed Thursday's vote, Vance argued, "I certainly think that unless we get a better president, there's almost nothing that Congress can pass that's really going to improve the lives of the American people." Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Amazing. I love that emote. Asked about J.D. Vance's labeling Democrats as anti-family, the Senate Finance Committee Chair Ron Wyden, who negotiated the bill with House Ways Means Committee Jason Smith, responded, "There's a lot of weird stuff going on here." Nice. Best part about that slur from Trump's next assassination target, things go well between them and Trump and Pence's part where some people he slurred had kids. Democrats had cast the vote in part as a response to Vance, with Schumer predicting that most Republicans would vote against it, even as they say they care about families. It was the last vote the Senate cast before leaving Washington for August recess until September 9th. The House passed the child tax credit in January. Senator Tom Tillis adamantly opposed the bill. They've lost me on the pay for. The child tax credit does not have some kind of basic requirements that we would want. It needs to go back in the oven and come out with our tax reform next year. Tillis distributed pamphlets at the Senate GOP lunch meeting Tuesday as he rallies colleagues to oppose the bipartisan measure. The document read, Wyden Smith is not a tax deal we're looking for. Cool. Says the party of family. Wyden and Smith negotiated the legislation which passed the House 357 to 70. It would expand child tax credits, lift that $1,600 ceiling on refundability, and adjust the benefits of it for inflation. It's designed to primarily help multi-child households with low incomes. The bill also includes tax breaks for research and development and small business expensing, an enticement that helped garner GOP support in the House. Senator Josh Hawley was a rare Republican who voted yes. As a Republican, we should vote in favor of helping people who want to have families, he said, adding that he doesn't believe the GOP should be discussing women without the children. Vance said that Harris is a childless cat lady. She has 2 children. Oh. Oh, okay. Nah, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good. I get what they're saying. As Republicans, we should be in favor of helping people who want to have families, he said, adding that he doesn't believe the GOP should be discussing women without children. Senator Lisa Murkowski said that she's frustrated that Schumer hadn't committed to allowing amendments. I just don't think that we're given serious focus to when you bring it up. I just pointed out a lie by Vance. Yeah, I got it. No worries. You're good. You're good. I just don't think that we're giving serious focus to when you bring up at the last vote. I'm assuming it's going to be the last vote before we go on break, so that's frustrating. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, potential vice president candidate for Vice President Harris, went after Vance, calling his comments obnoxious and just wrong, ripping into Vance's suggestion that parents should get more voting power than Americans without children. It doesn't surprise me that he's not in favor of helping families that actually need help. It'd probably put him in the category with somebody like Donald Trump trying to help out billionaire friends and the wealthy Americans. Wealthiest Americans, big corporations. Vance's team responded aggressively before he started desperately trying out to be Kamala's VP pick. Little Mark Kelly sang a completely different tune about Senator Vance. He introduced legislation with him, and their work together would bring good-paying jobs to every corner of the state. Of every state, Vance spokesperson William Martin told NBC News, it'll be enjoyable to watch this fraud get passed up for one of the half-rate governors on Kamala's short list. All right, folks. We did it. We got through. Like if someone came in and... Yeah, that's okay. I got it now. I understood. It is okay. All right, folks. Kelly and Pete and Shapiro are the top ones, I guess. I hope not. Man, listen, I will settle for Andy Bashir. I would settle for Andy Bashir, but it really should be Tim Walz. It really should be. And I will be genuinely annoyed. I will genuinely be annoyed if they pick Shapiro. Oh, come on. Where'd it go? Give me a second, folks. Oh, there it is. Why is Trump so clearly in peak physical, psychological shape? True. Exactly. I wouldn't want Shapiro either. Latest polling show 59% of Republicans now want a young Republican presidential candidate. Nice memes. Trump is clearly in peak physical and psychological shape. True. If there was only some process they had for picking their candidate. Yeah. Where they could have chosen someone who wasn't old. Yeah. Little buyer's remorse, I think, is going on. Little. Alright, folks. Well, I gotta get out of here. It's just about 7:30. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button, as so many of you have done. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you. Thank you to all the new chatters, new followers. Thank you, Tech Jansen, subscribing with a Prime. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. The support you guys have shown is amazing. Thank you, Hilda Beast, for the follow. Thank you for bringing your wonderful community. You are all awesome. I appreciate all the new chatters here. Thank you. As always, folks, thank you for hanging out. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. Consider checking out the merch store. All right. Let me see the shirt, please. Right here. Right here. Look at that. Take it easy. Thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for the subscription. Look at that. It's a this one is the embroidered one. It's like an embroidered patch. Came out really good. 100% 100% cotton. You need a shave. Yes, indeed. Don't worry. I'll get to that eventually. 100% cotton, by the way. Very nice. I do need to shave. That's true. Don't worry. Don't worry, I shall. Looks awesome. I think so. What was that neo-Nazi podcaster that MTG hung out with? The campaign speeches, that's close as young Trump they could get. Oh, you're thinking of the Nazi Nick Fuentes. Thinking of Nick Fuentes. So yes, if you if you want to support the channel, consider checking out the merch store. Pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I'm super happy with it. Keep liking the stream on YouTube. I see you guys. I see you. Keep subscribing on the YouTube channel. Join the Discord, folks. That's where everything is happening. Join the Discord. Could not remember the name. Yeah. All right, folks. It's time for me to get out of here. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one, Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya! Have fun. Thank you. Hang on, folks.
Looking for change on the subway train.
All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.